We had to go chase down some Halloween decorations that got blown across the patio. In this episode of Chop and Brew, we're going behind the scenes on a very unique cold IPA conditioned in Aquavit barrels at Arbeiter Brewing Company in Minneapolis. I sit down with head brewer Aaron Herman to taste the beer and talk about this fun collaboration project with Norseman Distillery and how the barrel aging process transformed the base beer into a botanical bouquet of beery goodness. Before we get into it, a quick reminder that all pro brewer interviews on Chop and Brew are brought to you with support from Imperial Yeast. Their German ale strain G03 Dieter is not only great for styles like Kolsch and alt beer, but as you'll hear in this video, beers like Cold IPA. More info at imperialyeast.com. And big barrel-aged shout-outs to our Patreon party people. If you enjoy these discussions with craft brewers, want to see more? Consider supporting the show at patreon.com/chopandbrew. What's going on, everybody? We're here on a warm day with a cold IPA, but it's a cold IPA with a twist. Here with Aaron Herman, Arbeiter Brewing Company. They're switching literally from Oktoberfest decorations to Halloween decorations as we speak.
Spooky season.
We're on the cusp of, well, we're in fall, but we're on the cusp of like the cool part of fall. This beer is something even more special than a cold IPA, which is already very special to my heart. This is a cold IPA conditioned in an Aquavit barrel. Something that when I heard when we first were here and we saw the barrel come in, I was like, I don't know how that's gonna work.
How is that gonna work?
Happy to report that it works very
like
well.
This.
So real quick, we could go all the way back, we could start here, but really just kind of talk about the project and why this style works.
Well, we'll start at the beginning and we'll get to the end, right?
Yeah.
So I forget, well, a couple of years ago, we got a random phone call from Lawless Distilling offering up an empty Aquavit barrel. And at the moment, we weren't really producing, like we were kind of like in like the slow production time. So I didn't have a ton of beer on hand. I was like, what the heck can I put in an Aquavit barrel? All right. And then I had a cold IPA in a fermenter that was like done, and the light bulb went off, and fast forward, and that beer worked out pretty dang well, so much so that I wanted to do it again. But where do you find an Aquavit barrel? Not many. And Lawless had since, I think, ceased to produce. Anyways, I called up Norseman.
Good thing we live in the land of good Scandinavian-rooted people.
Distilleries, yeah. That have distilleries, yeah. Norseman does a very nice barrel-aged Aquavit. So I was able to get my hands on one of those. And, a cold IPA, a slightly different cold IPA. This one's called Chill Phase. And this has become one of our kind of flagship cold IPAs. It's actually a cold IPA fermented with German ale yeast, which is something that I kind of rather not do, but it's a little bit faster to turn, so to speak, kind of a little bit easier to make, so to speak, than cold IPA with lager yeast, but that's for a different Chop and Brew.
I did not know that. What strain? What ale strain?
It's my German ale strain, Go3 from Imperial.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The same strain I make all my other ales with.
And the alt beer? Well, probably not the alt beer.
And the alt beer.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
We should
Sorry,
rewind.
Dusseldorf.
We should rewind just real quick. What is an Aquavit if people don't know?
The best way I can explain it is a Scandinavian gin. So it's got, instead of juniper and other such botanicals that you would find in more of like an English gin, it has like botanicals like caraway, fennel, oftentimes dill, star anise,
Angelica root,
lemon peel.
These are specifically the ones that Norseman kind of said are included.
And they're not always barrel aged either. Like like gin, you find some barrel aged gins. Not all Aquavits are barrel aged.
Yeah.
So, and oftentimes I believe they're not. Question mark. But
I would argue I've never had an Aquavit that was barrel aged till I saw what they were doing. I feel like from overseas, for the most part, you get crystal clear gin-looking Aquavit.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes it'll have a slight, kind of like a brownish, maybe barrel, but it could also be like
just from
boatloads
of
of
botanicals.
Yeah.
They're distilling the botanicals into it, and as far as even process too, I don't even know if I'm sure they would make it, like, kind of distill the botanicals into it like they do with gin.
Yeah, this is a whole other rabbit hole, but I went to Okanagan Spirits when we were in British Columbia, and I was like, how do you soak it? Are they in the must or in the wash? And they were saying actually that's a lot of times it's in the actual column.
Yep.
So it's like distilling through these botanicals, not ever like sitting, steeping.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I learned.
We have a lot of
about
conjecture going on here.
The last time I visited Jake Harbor, actually.
Okay.
She was talking about the botanicals going into like the different levels of the still, I believe, if I remember right.
So let's talk more about this. Ivar and Johnny from Norway happened to be here this random day. This barrel showed up. We were doing a tour of Arbeiter. Turned into like a big old party. They were sniffing the bunghole and giving like all the delicious
with barrels,
all the delicious sensory notes. And now we're kind of here full circle with the end product, and it is. Talk to me about what you get from it, taste and sense wise, but also how that beer changed.
Sure.
Very much through this process.
Yeah. So what I've experienced with kind of both of these Aquavit barrel aged cold IPA projects is that, like, you know, with a lot, like, well, the beer just kind of turns into like a flavor conveyance for the Aquavit flavor profile. You know, as many of us probably know, or as many of you are probably like pretty well aware, like fresh, like hop forward characters are gonna fade away. Like those are like the first things to fade away in a beer. So you put an IPA type beer or a hop forward beer in a barrel like those, you're gonna lose that bright citrusy, piney, you know, tropical notes pretty relatively quickly. And Aquavit is such, at least out of this particular barrel, it's such like a powerful and intense flavor profile, and you get some oakiness too, even from the wood itself.
I get a lot of vanilla in this. I get like it's like vanilla, herbal, citrus.
Yeah, I still get citrus. So like but
just
you know, so like by and large, like the hops I feel like do fall away, and it's like it's kind of everything else that comes in over top of that, and just the beer operates as just a really nice kind of Aquavit flavor conveyor.
And we noted that it got a little dark, like chill phase would not be this, I don't know what you would call that, orange?
Yeah,
dark gold orange.
Right. We are
so I feel like that pulled out of the charred barrel to some extent.
More than likely, yeah. I mean, where else would it come from, really?
You were saying we're serving...
Oh, sidebar, we're also serving, not this batch of course, but a new batch of chill phase, both on CO2 and nitro. So if you hurry, actually unfortunately the barrel aged chill phase is going to be gone pretty quick here, but you can still get chill phase 2 other ways. So that was kind of fun to release all 3 at the same time.
How long was it in the barrel? The cold IPA?
It was in the barrel till it was done.
Okay, that's a secret. I guess the bigger question is it a long enough time where, to your point, you wouldn't expect it to be much cold IPA-ish?
Oh.
That bitterness, that hop profile,
yeah.
This is definitely a take on...
It's a longer period of time.
Okay. That's nice. It's just
for
so...
hops to hang on. Except, like, comparatively speaking, and I don't know if it had to, well, it must have had to do with the barrels themselves. We thought, at least when we were sampling it straight from the barrel and trying to gauge if it was ready to harvest or not, we thought that this one retained a little bit more IPA character than the previous attempt at this with the Lawless barrel. I mean, it could be anecdotal. It could be, it could be a number of things, of course. Different beer, different base beers. I personally didn't really like this all that much when it was still warm, flat, and straight from the barrel.
Yeah.
It had to get cold and carbonated for it to really kind of show its true colors, so to speak, which is often the case with beer.
I think of flavors.
It's not done, at least in our kind of common perception of beer right now. It's not done until it's cold and carbonated.
Yeah.
So
I think of flavors a lot in color, and this definitely has a blue, not quite minty, not quite menthol, but you look at spices like star anise, you look at things like coriander, juniper, even not that there's juniper in here, but this doesn't. There's something in the sum of all these parts that does make me feel juniper-ish.
Did you mention mint just now? People get mint out of this. I feel
Yeah,
like.
I mean,
people
like,
have mentioned mint
or licorice. Like, it has a very blue, like a Jägermeister-y kind of thing, but not like.
Yeah.
It's not overwhelming.
It's a very complex flavor profile, that's for sure.
What other styles do you think would go good in an Aquavit now that you've had this and thought this through, I'm sure, a couple of times?
So a friend of mine who was here over the weekend for Oktoberfest was mistaken and thought it was Haha Pills.
Oh.
So that, I mean, like an Imperial Pills would probably work pretty well. However, you would have to kind of rely on all those botanicals to cut through the sweetness that is often in an Imperial Pills, whereas an IPA is already going to have some bitterness to it. So,
and you're putting it in a style that's kind of known for being very dry also, so there's not a lot of malt residual sweetness doing battle. I feel like what residual sweetness I'm getting out of here is actually from the barrel, that vanilla-y, woody.
Yeah, I would agree.
Kind of,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What about, do you think a darker beer? Like, in my head I want to think, because I remember Sam Calagione had like a licorice root stout recipe.
Okay.
But I never did it. But I'm like, oh, these kind of, they seem like they'd be perfect for a stout, but it's just like right when you think that, because of like, oh, this versus this equal, you're like,
like dark
maybe
spice, dark beer.
Yeah, but maybe not.
Maybe, yeah. It's hard to say. I would think until you start fooling around with stuff.
I wanted to ask you.
That's the beauty of it.
I wanted to ask you what kind of beer style you would put in a Malort barrel, because there is a barrel-aged Malort. I learned.
I'm aware of this.
And what do you think? There's any beer worthy of a Malort barrel, or?
Can I plead no comment?
I feel like the only answer is Saison, because it's like, well, the Saison can just be a million.
That'd work in here too.
Answers in what's that?
A Saison.
A Saison with
like
these,
especially like a strong Saison.
Well, that's what I said inside when we were tasting these. This, like, if I was tasting this blind, I would think it was a Belgian beer, but I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like, Belgian yeast don't have. I mean, they've got complex palates, but like, I would just want to default to like, it's Belgian, but I don't know what the heck else. Like a Belgian IPA almost. Or a Belgian pale.
Yeah.
Obviously stronger than a Belgian pale. Like, my brain would want to say like Saison, or a Belgian triple
wit would work. Yeah,
a triple.
Wit. Yeah, okay. I immediately went to like Belgian Golden Strong. But yeah, a triple or something like that. I mean, you kind of the higher the alcohol content, it's going to fend off bad oxidation in a barrel a little bit more than like a lower ABV something. So unless you have a small barrel, you want to have a stronger beer so you can do a longer age. But,
say someone doesn't know Norseman Distillery or any distillery, and a home brewer specifically wanted to try to do something like this with oak products, chips, cubes, spirals. What would be your suggestion for doing infusing those products with Aquavit and then using them?
Right. That's a really good. As a home brewer and as a commercial brewer, I've never actually used soaked wood like in a beer. Okay. I've never used that approach, so
I don't want to put you on the spot then.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna take myself out of the spot then, and no. I don't know. I would say try to educate yourself on Aquavits and find one that you like, and then follow whatever procedures you're comfortable with to get that flavor into the wood, and then get that wood into your beer.
To your point.
Like my brewing catchphrase kind of is there's a million ways to skin a cat. So just do what works for you.
You could also probably just pour Aquavit in your beer before you keg it.
You could,
but there is something about the wood component of this beer is also
for sure. Yeah, you kind of
would it do it on a homebrew scale? That. Probably not, because here you're talking about a beer resting in this vessel, really softening the edges of what would have been probably a very bitter and very like exaggerative flavor profile of the Cold IPA. Now it's an exaggerative profile of all these botanicals and the wood. But yeah, I mean, you can look it up online. There's cubes. I mean, I would say just soak cubes in it. Put it in secondary, or if you just want to put it in primary, and then make sure you taste it though before it gets out of hand. anything else to be said? This is super fun. Like, again, shout out to Ivar. Ivar helped name this beer with our buddy Garth, who runs kind of marketing social media here. It's Ølsti. It means like the path of beer, or the beer path.
Beer's journey or beer's path, yeah.
And this beer took quite a journey.
Quite a path, yeah. Thanks, Ivar.
Yeah.
Prost.
From, I was going to say St. Paul, but from Minneapolis to outside of Voss,
Close to St. Paul.
Norway. No. You guys are, yeah, you're close to St. Paul. I always try to reference everything like, you're close to St. Paul. St. Paul's not close to you.
Sure.
You should be so lucky to be the neighboring city of St. Paul. Joe Alton called it St. Small the other day, and I was like,
oh,
I like that.
Huh.
He's like, just another thing that happens in St. Small.
St. Small. I've never heard that before.
All right. Well, if you're local to MSP, get down here, try this.
Or St. Paul, because it's next door.
Oh, well, that's the SP of the M. Come on,
Oh,
man.
MSP, sorry.
Hating on it.
Yeah. My bad.
Come down, get it. There's not much of this left, but it doesn't sound like it's probably the last time you'll do one.
If I can get my hands on Aquavit barrels, I will continue to make this.
If you're an Aquavit producer somewhere in the U.S. and you want to buddy up for a collabo,
let me know.
there's worse places in the country to go spend like a nice long weekend and hang out than Minneapolis. But also come over to St. Paul.
Also visit St. Paul.
All right. Cheers, skål, all the rest. It is a little windy. I don't know. Sometimes it's not a very, like, it's on the front, and I feel like the wind's coming from the side. So,
Can we pause and like listen real quick? Listen back for a second. To see
not really, because it doesn't have an earbud hole. So like the speaker is kind of shit anyway when you're just listening back. Not many snowboarders need to check back on their audio because it just all sounds like.
Sure. Fair.